Hello everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Art Supplies You Didn't Know Existed. Now, if you're new here to my channel, every few years I scour the internet to find the most interesting and unique art supplies that I didn't know and maybe you didn't know existed. And yes, this is part 3, I think at this point. If you want to see the other ones, I'll link them in the description box down below. But I love doing these every few years because it seems like every single day newer and newer art supplies are being invented. So yes, I have a lot of exciting stuff for you guys today. So let's get into it. All right, first up, we have an art supply that every few months it goes viral. And it's surprising that I've never tried it out before because people are always tagging me in this on TikTok, which by the way, follow my TikTok page if you want to see more videos. This is the thickest body paint in the world. In fact, the paint is so thick that not only can you use it like regular paint, but you can actually sculpt with it. In fact, it doesn't even really look like regular acrylic paint. To me, it kind of looks like forbidden frosting. And using really thick paint has actually been around for quite a while now. For example, you might know a really underground artist named Van Gogh. He was notorious for using extremely thick body paint. But yeah, this is by the brand Graphy Art Materials. And of course, I bought some. Did you see how much my desk just shook just now because the paint is so heavy? Oh my gosh. But yes, the paint tubes come in multiple sizes. We have the smaller one, which as you can see is literally bigger than my head. And we have the bigger one, which this bad boy is the size of my torso. I feel like I could use this as a weapon or something. And I also got the red and the yellow. So yeah, I'm not gonna lie, this amount of paint was not cheap. I think I spent like $70 to get this paint shipped to me. And it is a lot of paint, so it definitely makes sense. So before I jump right into trying to make an artwork with this, I wanna see if this paint is actually as thick as what it promises. And let's compare its thickness to just a regular schmegular paint. And here's what happens whenever you glob it down. It obviously turns into a puddle. And then here is the Gaffy paint. I'm gonna do the exact same thing that I just did. Oh my god, that looks like the Grinch's house. This is crazy. Like even looking on the camera, it's like standing up 2 inches tall. Wow, that is crazy. And I've never done anything like this before, so as far as like the artwork goes, I'm gonna have to keep it very, very simple. Okay, I don't even want to show you what I made because this is not my best work, okay? And look, I just want to say that I feel like I'm a pretty decent artist. You know, I've created some things with pencils that I really, really love, but trying to make a painting with this is a whole entire new can of worms. And I just did the tiniest, simplest little painting, and even that was very difficult because you have to hold this completely still, not shake too much, dispense just the right amount so it doesn't clog up, be mindful of the other clumps that you already just dispensed. But at the same time, it's kind of nice because I didn't have complete control over what I was making, but it kind of felt like I was the painting medium and the paint was dispensing itself through me. I was just simply the one holding it and dispensing it. But yeah, this is an extremely niche art supply. In fact, I think this might be one of the only companies that sells this exact product for this purpose with this exact formulation. And if you didn't know that this kind of thing exists, now you do know. And if you thought this art supply was interesting, wait till you see the next one. All right, for this next art supply that you didn't know existed, I am going to need some water, and it's probably not for the reason that you think. What I have here is paper that quickly dissolves in water. And look, I just want to say, yes, I am aware that all paper can dissolve in water, but supposedly this paper dissolves within seconds. Why somebody would want this, I'm not too sure, but here are all the reasons that I found based on reviews as to why somebody would get this paper. And if you have any other guesses, let me know down in the comments down below because I'm completely lost. And anything you can do with printer paper, you can do with this dissolvable paper. For example, you can do a little drawing. I just did a super quick sketch because it's about to get destroyed completely in the water. Now let's see how long it takes for this to dissolve completely. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, wow, that took about 40 seconds to dissolve completely. And it didn't even turn into mush. It like literally dissolved completely in the water. And it did say in the packaging that this is safe for marine life. It's compostable and it's also safe for the environment. So far, each product has been working really well. Let's hope that this next art supply does exactly what it's supposed to do. Next up, one of the biggest complaints that I hear about watercolor is that it's so difficult because once you mess up, that's it. It's permanent. And I have seen the art hack where you get a magic eraser sponge and you wet it and like use that to erase watercolor. But as far as I'm aware, that doesn't have the highest success rate and sometimes it can mess up the paper. So allow me to introduce you to watercolor lifting preparation. So how it works, it seeps into the actual paper just like watercolor does, and whenever it dries, it acts like a barrier to prevent the watercolor from sinking in and therefore staining your paper permanently. So it's kind of like a reverse eraser, if that makes sense. Let me show you how it works. All right, so I'm just gonna evenly and carefully paint it on and let it dry 100% completely. And I'm gonna get some watercolor. I feel like a makeup guru. Do you remember back in the day, the makeup community would hold up the palettes, their Morphe palettes, and be like, okay, now we're gonna get this color. Pat it all over the lid. Ugh, I miss those days. I'm gonna put a swatch on the page, and now I'm going to put it on a regular paper that does not have the lifting preparation. Okay. Now I'm just gonna let it dry for a little bit. All right, so now that they're both dry, I have a paper towel with a little bit of water on it. And here's what would happen normally if you tried to get rid of your watercolor. It comes off, but it's stained, it's smeared, and it left a mess. And let's check out the preparation. Boom, just like that, it comes off cleanly, perfectly, smoothly, with no trace. I mean, the difference is night and day, babes. And the crazy thing is that even though the whole page was covered with the product, it still lets the watercolor work like normal. I think out of everything, this by far is probably the most useful of this video. I'll put the link down below because this is some really, really good stuff. But yeah, if you do any kind of watercolor, get some lifting preparation. All right, so for this next art supply that you probably have never heard of is an innovation that comes from the one, the only Culture Hustle. And if you don't know, Culture Hustle is an art brand that makes all kinds of unique and crazy colors. For example, they made the blackest paint in the world, the whitest paint in the world, and recently they have a new invention called Resist. And this is an invisible water-activated membrane. And basically how this paint works is that you put it. Actually, I'm not gonna tell you. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and show you. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is get a stencil that I made out of cardboard and place it on the sidewalk and spray really, really well with the art supply product. And when I say well, I mean really, really spray it down. Then once it's dry, I'm just gonna spray, ironically, water all over the image that I just created. And then boom, once the water seeps in, you'll have a semi-permanent image every single time it rains. And look, I just wanna say I am a little bit skeptical of this art supply because the first time I tried it, I tried to use a more detailed stencil, but because the sidewalk is a little bit rigidy and is not like a perfectly flat surface, the spray inevitably got underneath the stencil and therefore basically didn't work at all. And whenever I was looking at Culture Hustle's TikTok page, it looked like it worked so easy for them. So that's why I did it a second time with an inverted stencil, which seemed to work a lot better. So I don't know. I'm not too sure how I feel about this product. I'm kind of wishy-washy on it. Okay, so for this next art supply that you didn't know existed, I may or may not have bought this for
selfish reasons.
This is a homemade watercolor palette that is... I'm so creeped out right now. My camera keeps picking up that there's a face right here, and it's not this little statue. It's saying that there's a face right here. Is it this thing? And I swear, if my camera says there's a face right here again, I'm leaving. I'm out. You won't see SuperRaeDizzle no more. This is a homemade watercolor palette. It is the most beautiful watercolor palette that I have ever seen in my life. This palette is just so beautiful. It's almost like otherworldly. Even when I was looking at the reviews of this palette, it was beautiful. We're talking random people who bought it in their kitchen, in their living room with the overhead light on. And even then the pictures look phenomenal. So let's test it out. Okay, so I finished the drawing. It's gonna be kind of hard to see, but here it is in all of its shiny, glittery glory. And when I was painting this, it was really fun because there's no traditional colors inside of this watercolor palette. It's all shimmers, baby. Under the right conditions, it is just so glittery and shimmery and reflective and gorgeous. And whenever I was painting with this, it really did look like I was messing around with pure liquid gold. It's just so beautiful and unique, and it didn't disappoint at all. All right, now this brings us to the grand finale. One of my most viral videos that I've ever done is a video where I tested out Black 3.0, aka the darkest paint in existence. And if you guys remember, that paint was absolutely wild. It was so dark that at some point it didn't even look like paint. It looked more like a black void. Well, Culture Hustle this year officially released a paint that is even darker than Black 3.0. I don't know how it's possible to make something look darker than a black void, but I guess somehow Culture Hustle did it. So yes, here is the official Black 4.0 officially released paint. Okay, quick pause, because earlier this year I did test out the beta version of this paint, but it was not the officially released version. That one was still going through testing, and this is the official formula, okay? In order for us to fully understand just how black this paint really is, I'm going to compare it to a regular black paint. Okay, so it's the next day, and I wanted to let these dry overnight because you don't get the full effect unless it's completely dry. So let me show you now. Boom, the darkest paint in existence. Now, obviously, both of these paints are extremely black, and it's kind of hard to tell with the naked eye which one is darker. But what I can tell is that the Black 3.0, the formula on it is just not that good. Like, whenever I was squirting it into the palette, I was like,
oh my god, what is that? Oh my god, what is that?
and you're gonna compare that to the Black 4.0, which its formula is like a perfect, fluid, everyday acrylic paint. And because the new perfected formula dries so smooth, it doesn't have all kinds of bumps and texture everywhere to reflect off more light, which really amplifies the illusion. And I honestly don't think that they will make a Black 5.0 like another one, because this version is absolutely perfect. So yeah, Black 4.0 is now officially on the market with a perfected formula. If you didn't know, now you know. Well guys, there you go. That was art supplies that I didn't know existed, and maybe you didn't know existed either. On a real note, I'm just gonna be completely honest here. This year has absolutely chewed me up and spit me out. And for this last video of 2024, I just wanted to do something fun, relaxing, and just something to like stimulate my brain and reset me, you know? And for anybody else who's also had just like a crazy 2024, just know you're not alone. And I hope that we can make 2025 a much better year for both of us. But anyway, if I don't see you by next year, happy holidays, happy new year, and I'll see you guys next video. Bye.